Hi everyone, you have undoubtedly noticed the introduction of the third and fourth phases in Incredibox. As it is well known that the official version only contains 2 phases, I want to address this issue in today's video by asking where these extra ones came from. In this video, I'll discuss my fascinating notion that these additional phases could be parallel realities where some spunks' fates were even darker and their suffering more severe. Each of them could have had a tragic and eerie end. In the third and fourth phases, Orin's face appears severely disfigured, almost as if Wenda clawed at it with a frenzied vengeance. Orin's fate was a grisly one. He had no enemies, and no one but Wenda had a reason to harm him. It appears that Wenda lost her sanity entirely, turning on several other characters in her madness. This violent turn is why we see ominous traces of blood around her lips and a wild, unsettling look in her eyes. Even though he might have had a chance to survive, things got worse as rescuers tried to help. Sadly, another heavy object fell and crushed his head completely, leaving no chance for recovery. Next, we have Funbot, who probably saw many of his friends panic and die or fall into despair. He was scared and deeply affected, and he might have even begun to experience depression. It's likely that Wenda's manipulation caused him to lose his sanity after his fatal hanging, since he was pushed to hang himself because of obsessive, troubling thoughts that she had subtly inserted into his mind, telling him he was worthless and driving him to the verge of despair. Next, Kluwer met his awful fate. Known for his enthusiasm in construction, when Wenda returned to discover him gouging out his eyes in a fit of horrifying wrath and tearing away his skin in a frenzied frenzy. Clear's death appears to have been a sad accident. He was probably working on a city-building project when a big object dropped from the sky, striking him and breaking his skull severely. By the third stage, Funbot's mouth starts to resemble Black's visage, suggesting that Black might have attempted to influence him. However, Funbot most likely rejected this sinister influence and made a different decision, permanently shutting down. Venaria's death was even more upsetting, and the sprout growing on her head started to root into her skull, taking nutrients straight from her blood and hair. Over time, the sprout grew larger and more invasive, eventually consuming her body from within. This decision to prevent further suffering is made clear in the fourth phase, when the Funbot appears completely dormant. His metamorphosis physically destroyed her until only her head remained a terrifying reminder of who she used to be. According to one theory, Gray may have survived at first by deftly evading detection. His fear appears to have served as a survival instinct, keeping him safe for a while. However, Wenda eventually found his hiding place and struck him on the head, causing serious injuries. Although Gray survived the initial blow, the injuries were extensive, leaving him vulnerable. Last but not least is the strange encounter between Brood and Simon. It has been confirmed that Simon attacked Brood and bit him, but strangely, Brood survived and didn't feel any pain. Simon then bit him again, this time on the body, but even after the second attack, Brood continued to live, leaving Simon perplexed as to why his bites had no effect. Finally, Geralt met a brutal end at the hands of W in a violent rage. When Wenda tore off his robotic glasses, his mouth and left eye were crushed by the extreme pressure and jagged glass fragments. The extent of the trauma caused his system to malfunction and his eyes to glitch into a menacing Red Ox 160, and Wenda viciously tore into his face and body, causing catastrophic injuries. However, her attack didn't end there. She also broke his skull and seriously damaged his body. He was rendered unrecognizable by the extent of the injury, which included the loss of one eye, and Sky's death was as horrific. Wenda impaled him with 4 metal rods, causing severe internal injuries, but even this wasn't enough for her. She drove the rods even deeper, making sure that his death was as drawn out as it was agonizing. However, looking at Mr. Sun, it seems that he didn't escape this tragic sequence of events either. Previously, I suggested that Black might have corrupted him, making him an unwilling accomplice. But after witnessing the eerie changes in phases 3 and 4, I'm convinced that Black had a hand in Mr. Sun's demise. His adaptability caused him to overextend his jaw, dislocating it in the process. But in phases 3 and 4, it's evident that he continued to push himself, breaking it in a twisted accident of his own making and causing a fatal neck injury. Mr. Tree's life was hauntingly tormented by the soul of a young girl who took control of him. This possession sapped his vitality, and his face was nailed to a missing persons poster, making him live with a constant sense of sorrow over her untimely death. But as time went on, Black saw Mr. Tree's growing frailty and took advantage of it, sowing ominous ideas that eventually engulfed him. The missing poster disappeared along with Mr. Tree's residual shame, signaling his total decline as his metamorphosis progressed to the point where he was as dark as Black himself, losing any last vestiges of goodness or regret. Simon's story is one of a fierce internal conflict brought on by an overwhelming hunger. He first resisted the urge, but it soon overtook him. In the third phase, we see someone inside his mouth, possibly a victim, whom he tried to eat but was unable to swallow. By the fourth phase, his transformation is complete, and he has fully embraced his monstrous appetite tuner and consumed his prey. Wenda attacked him in a particularly vicious manner, wounding him, but her suffering didn't stop there. He was shot at least twice more before being tortured. In regards to Mr. Fun Computer, he knows far more than he should have, even though he survived. He probably witnessed something horrific that he was desperate to reveal, but before he could do so, Black discovered him and, sensing the danger of his knowledge, broke his spirit and functionality, permanently silencing him and guaranteeing that we would never know the secrets he held. The green tape placed over his mouth seems to be an attempt to silence him, preventing other spunks from hearing his agonizing screams during his final moments. Regardless of whether she was brainwashed, manipulated by Black or Jevon, or simply brainwashed, W's transformation was one of the most unsettling. By the third phase, she had lost all sanity and was uncontrollable, making her useless to Black and Jevon, who sent Mustard from the Colorbox Mafia to deal with her. Eventually, someone from the Mafia ended her life. Pinky, who was known for her kindness, found herself in danger because she probably knew information that she wasn't supposed to. Sensing danger, Wenda or Black threatened her and even stripped her face of skin to silence her. Ultimately, they killed her to prevent her from disclosing any secrets. Jevon's story is complicated. He is confirmed to be a cultist, and although he survived, his role is still unknown. It's unclear if he personally harmed others, but over time he appeared to become more sinister and dark. Here is the detailed plot of each spunk's fate. Do you think there is a parallel reality in this game where the spunk's destinies are more complicated and darker? Share your theories in the comments section below. The toll of this involvement changed his appearance, giving his character an even more mysterious quality.